George, let's turn to Rick Griffin in the Forecast Center.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Good morning. George, a powerful hurricane which could become stronger before landfall, could become a very significant, very dangerous Category 3 storm before that happens. And in fact, this morning we are looking at gradually lowering air pressure and a more distinct eye structure beginning to develop, perhaps signs of strengthening right now. Let's take a look at the current position before we go to Dr. Steve Lyons and get his analysis on the situation. Hurricane George, as of 4 a.m. Central Time this morning, located at 28.1 north, 87.6 west, about 200 miles southeast of New Orleans, Louisiana. Top sustained winds 110, very close to Category 3 status already. And the movement continues northwest at 10, the pressure down to 967 millibars. Hurricane watches and warnings have been posted. Here's the latest this morning. Hurricane warnings are in effect from Morgan City, Louisiana to Panama City, Florida. A warning means hurricane conditions are expected within 24 hours. And on either side of the hurricane warning area, hurricane watch and tropical storm warnings have been posted. A watch means hurricane conditions are possible within 36 hours. Tropical storm warning means, of course, tropical storm conditions are expected within 24 hours. That is one scenario for Pensacola Beach, Florida. And joining us this morning for a first look at the weather in Pensacola Beach is the Weather Channel's Kristen Dodd. Good morning, Kristen.
Good morning, Rick. As you mentioned, we are in Pensacola Beach, and we are pretty much in the center portion of the beach, and we've selected this site this morning to bring you our live reports because it is one of the wider stretches of the beach, so some of the storm surge and the crashing waves would reach this location last. Now, that has not been the case this morning on the west end of the island. This morning I was trying to drive over toward Fort Pickens. I only really got about a half mile from here when the water became rushing over the roads. It was well over knee height, and if cars are trying to drive into that location, they definitely will become flooded out and stalled, and we could run into some problems. So if you are on the island and you're listening, do not drive into any flooded roadways. More than likely some of the pavement is being washed out, and we could see a dangerous situation there. Throughout the morning hours here in Pensacola Beach, we also are going to be monitoring some of the wind with a portable anemometer. So far we have had gusts at about 25 miles an hour. Of course, we do expect that to pick up as we move through the day. We do have evacuation orders in place. The bridges have been closed to inbound traffic unless you can prove that you are a resident of the island. And we have right now about 5,000 people who have spent the night in shelters in the inland areas. Rick?
Kristen, thanks for that report. We'll get back to you at half past the hour. Well, joining me this morning, Dr. Steve Lyons, our hurricane expert. Steve, for folks just joining us this morning, what changes have you seen in Hurricane George overnight?
Well, it's definitely strengthened a little bit, and it's 1 mile an hour shy of a Category 3. It's impossible for us to call it that close, but officially it's 110 miles an hour. Category 3 starts at 111. I would imagine probably at 11, Hurricane Center, if the trend continues, will definitely have it as a major hurricane because the satellite signatures tend to look better and better. And you can see that here, the eye there in the center. Look at the red banding features around the center, the dark red banding features. Those are these features up here on the north side and to the south side there as well. Those features are becoming better defined, so we could probably have a Category 3 here in another few hours.
And Steve, we saw that the winds are picking up in Pensacola Beach, and about 50 miles south of Panama City there's a buoy, and that buoy is reporting over 51-knot wind gusts and 28-foot waves out in the Gulf of Mexico.
That's right. We're estimating about 33 feet as a maximum wave height. And of course, what Kristen's getting down there at the beach is what we call wave setup. And then most of this coastline here in Florida will not get as much surge as they will wave setup. And so be very, very careful. That wave setup can be as high as 5 feet, maybe 6 feet above normal tide level. So that's what's flooding the road right now, are those high waves breaking on the beach.
All right, here's the most important question, and we probably should indicate that more than likely the core of the hurricane is going to be moving into southeast Louisiana. The timing and location, when and where do you expect landfall?
Well, right now, of course, it's about 200 miles away from New Orleans, and it's moving at about 10 miles an hour. Simple arithmetic gives you 20 hours to landfall, but keep in mind the worst weather and the tropical storm and hurricane force winds will come there well before the eye passes through. So you have to be very, very careful. And here's the time frame on the swath. Our best estimate here is basically right through the New Orleans area. And the time frame here's Sunday afternoon. Here is a Category 3. Monday morning, notice it slows down rather significantly. We haven't seen that slowing yet, so be very careful. Don't bank on the slowing for your evacuation. Assume that it's going to continue to move at a fairly good clip, and then if it slows, you have all that extra time.
All right, Steve, the southeast part of Louisiana, New Orleans and vicinity, very low-lying, if not below sea level in some cases. The storm surge could be devastating there.
Yeah, if you're in a low-lying area there near the beach, near the coastline, and it's very low, you need to get out of there. The water level rise is going to be probably a minimum of 10 feet on the right side of the hurricane. And you can see here's our storm surge potentials. And we're right now at the top end of the Category 2, which is a peak water level of about 15 feet. But if we go to the minimal 3, we may exceed 15 and go maybe to 17 feet. And that's exactly what the Hurricane Center's got in their advisory. A peak water level rise of 17 feet. Now imagine water level 15 feet above where it is right now where you are. If you think that would be a major disaster, you need to get out of there while you still can.
And
it's
plus,
very important.
Right.
Water is what kills people.
And plus, on top of that surge, large and battering waves to add to the problem.
That's right. The waves in the mouth of the Mississippi are not going to be too devastating there. They'll mostly be worse to the east over the Florida Panhandle and into the Biloxi area as well, along that coastline of the Mississippi. Yeah.
Okay, well, when we go to the wind field, we see it's a very large wind field right now. In fact, the tropical storm force winds are approaching the coast panhandle of Florida right now, southern Alabama. Wind gusts recently up to about 30 miles per hour in Pensacola.
And keep in mind, this is nighttime, and what tends to happen at night is the surface tends to decouple itself from the boundary layer winds. So when the sun comes up, we start to mix up. We're going to get wind gusts very quickly, much higher than that, even though the hurricane will not have moved appreciably closer just after sunrise.
Steve, we're looking at, of course, the U.S. satellite picture here is